But as I'm now realizing, I don't think I want to have kids. Okay, now all I care about is that you can financially keep up with me. So I don't really care how much money you make anymore. I care about, do you have enough to take me on the types of vacations that I want to go on? Do you have enough to take me to the types of restaurants that I take myself to? Do you make enough to do the occasional thoughtful thing and get me a gift here and there without it breaking the bank?
The woman in today's video thinks that the qualities she's looking for in a man are evolving. But what I think is happening is that she's just going through the process that a lot of women go through when they reach a certain age and start to lower their standards. In my opinion, she's settling because she can't attract and keep the kind of man she really wants. But if you think I'm wrong after watching this video, let me know in the comments. And since we're on the topic, don't forget to like and subscribe so I can bring you more content like this. Anyway, let's get into the mess.
So since I've decided that marriage is no longer really the goal, I have completely changed up what I actually care about in dating and what I'm looking for, which is something that I never thought that I would do. And when people used to joke like, oh, just wait until you get older, like just wait until you get older, this long list of requirements, you won't have it anymore. I used to think that that was coming from a place of them saying like, oh, well, when you get older, like especially once you hit 30, like if you're still single, then you're gonna be willing to settle. And I do think that that is the intention of what they were trying to say. However, they were right. They were right in a certain sense and very wrong in another sense. So hear me out.
This is pretty standard for women when they get older. And while she might be trying to mask it as something else, at the end of the day, it is settling. When I usually hear people talk about how they've given up on marriage or relationships, and then say that life is better this way, it's usually just their way of coping with the new reality they're facing. But let's give her a chance and listen to what she has to say.
They're right in the sense that when you date enough, you come to realize that there are very few men that are really going to add to your life. There are really very few men that are worth the headache and the back and forth of a long-term commitment. Because if you're looking for a marriage, and now I don't know how I feel about marriage and the necessity of it if you don't plan on having kids, but if you're looking at marriage, let's just say for sake of argument, because you want to have a family and you want to have children, now that you are going, all of these qualities on your list matter. Okay, some of y'all might have some stupid qualities on the list, but I think that the vast majority of us have curated a list because we have associated certain value with certain things, and we care about these things in a lifetime, long-term, committed partner who we are going to reproduce with.
Her first point about there being very few men who can add value to her life really speaks to the standards that women seem to have for men these days. And the sad fact is, most guys won't match what they're looking for, which results in a society that's perpetually single. When it comes to marriage and the list of requirements that women have for men, it really could lead to them pricing themselves out of the market if they're not realistic. Yes, there are certain qualities that you should look for in someone you're looking to tie yourself down to, but if that list is filled with silly qualities, like she mentioned in this video, women really should start reflecting on what it is they're asking for and why.
All of these things on this list are going to speak to your value that you bring as a man, your ability to provide, your ability to be there, your intelligence, how you plan on raising your children, the qualities that you're going to impart in the children. All of those things are incredibly important. When you date enough and you realize, there's not a lot of people on this planet that I would want to reproduce with. And then you start realizing, do I even want to reproduce? All right, now some of your qualifications don't really matter as much. I don't really care where you went to school if we're not going to have kids. Your intelligence level it matters for our interaction, but it doesn't matter genetically. You're not going to pass that down to anybody. Certain family health issues don't matter anymore. You're not passing that down to anybody. You see what I'm saying? And the list goes on and on and on. So
the value that a man brings to a relationship is always about how well he can provide and the resources he has access to. And this is how most women narrow things down until they think they've found someone good enough. The standards that this woman seems to have for men must be pretty high, since she said there's not a lot of guys on the planet she'd ever consider having children with. And again, like I mentioned earlier, when she asked the question, do I even want to reproduce? Is that a genuine feeling she has, or is it a response to the declining options of men in her life? Towards the end, she talked about how a lot of the things on her list won't matter anymore if she doesn't want to have children, which to me just sounds like a lowering of standards to find a partner.
If we're just strictly talking now, like if you're dating, not necessarily looking for marriage, maybe it eventually leads to that if you find somebody, but if you're not necessarily like, I'm on a timeline, I want to reproduce, I need a husband who can give me kids, well now a lot of your expectations are going to change. I'm at the point now, the list is in the trash. The list is in the trash. I don't care about the list anymore. And I laughed to myself because I'm like, oh, people always said this would happen. But people said it would happen in the sense of like, oh, you'll get to a certain point, you'll realize it's unrealistic and you'll settle. There's no way that I'm going to settle for somebody and marry somebody and have kids with somebody who does not meet all of my criteria. However, if I'm looking for companionship and a long-term partner, long-term meaning however long you continue to act right, the list is very different. Because in this situation, all I really care about is how do you make me feel? Do you make my life better or worse?
Her saying that the list is in the trash sounds all good for a video. But let's be real, the main things that she's looking for in a man are still going to be there. At the end of this clip, she said that the only things that matter now are how a man makes her feel and if he can make her life better or not, whatever that means. But we all know that she's got more requirements than that. In any case, it sounds like what she's looking for is a man she can have a good time with, without making any real commitment or plans to build a family or legacy. I'd love to know how that works out.
Very simple formula. Can I call you if I'm struggling and I need something? Are you going to deliver? Can I talk to you? Do I feel safe around you? Do I have fun with you? Do I enjoy making new experiences with you, or do you piss me off? Very simple formula. So now I'm like, yeah, the list is in the trash. People were right. Would I marry somebody and have kids with them who cannot meet certain criteria? No. Can they stay in my life as a companion in whatever capacity that looks like for us? Absolutely. I never thought I would evolve in this way. And the crazy thing about this is because I'm no longer enamored by qualities on a list when I meet somebody, like there is no man anymore that can impress me. I've dated the most impressive men and they sucked. They sucked in aspects that really mattered. So your qualities on a list no longer impress me. I'm no longer impressed by anything. What I'm impressed by is consistent effort.
The things she seems to be looking for are the types of qualities you'd probably look for in a short-term hookup situation. What she's ignoring, though, is the fact that if she stays with someone for long enough and spends a lot of time with them, she might start to want more, including the having of children. And by the time she realizes what's happening, she might not want to or be able to change her mind about having children with someone who doesn't have all the qualities that were on her original list. With her saying that she's dated the most impressive guys, I'd love to know what type of men they were and what it was that made them trash. Also, what did she mean by dating? Were they just hooking up or were they in an actual relationship? I guess we'll never know. Since she mentioned that the thing she's now impressed by is consistent effort, makes me think that the impressive guys she was dealing with weren't giving her the time of day, and it's probably because they had options and didn't want to settle down.
Consistent follow through. Consistent wowing. You wowing me over and over and over. Like, wow, that was so nice of him. He didn't have to get me that. He didn't have to take me there. He didn't have to talk to me about these things. He didn't have to be there for me in this situation. Consistent wowing. Over a long period of time. That's what I'm impressed by now. Because what city girls say, give a F what a guy if he ain't giving it. Okay, that goes for the list. Who cares what the qualities on the list are if he's not meeting your expectations? So the irony of this whole thing is, it's a win-win. Because either I'm going to end up single forever, but having elevated dating experiences than what I have experienced previously, or my elevated requirements for the standards of treatment that I accept will lead me to the person who I am meant to spend the rest of my life with. Win-win situation.
Why does it seem like it's all about her? Not once has she mentioned what she'd be doing for whoever becomes her companion. Anyone who's been in a long-term relationship knows that the fireworks won't be going off forever. After some time, things tend to calm down, and you really have to put in the work if you want to go the distance. She talks about relationships as if she's only ever seen them in Disney movies, acting as if the butterfly period lasts forever. In my opinion, it doesn't sound like a win-win just because you're enjoying or have enjoyed elevated dating experiences that ultimately went nowhere. And if anything, it sounds super tiring. Anyway, someone posted an interesting comment on this video and she responded to it. So let's see how that went.
Is it settling to reduce your dating requirements as you get older? I have asked myself this exact question a million times, but the answer is it depends on why you are reducing those requirements. There is a difference between settling and evolving your expectations. Now, settling comes from thinking, I'm never gonna find anybody that meets this, that, and the other, so instead, I'll just settle for as close as I can get to this. Evolving your expectations involves seriously looking at all of the criteria that you have set forth, understanding why all of those criteria are in place, and then understanding if they are still relevant to what you currently want, or if these qualities on the list are actually indicative of the result that you want. Stick with me, let me elaborate. As we go through life, our expectations, our desires, our goals all change. If you are a self-reflective person, you should be consistently assessing what you really want in life, and if your actions are lining up to give you to that result. Now, dating is no different. For example, when you were in your early 20s, you were dating for potential. You would meet a guy, you'd be like, oh, he majored in this, he went to this school, he has this entry-level job. Cool, he's probably on a trajectory to be very successful. Okay, well, when you're in your 30s, you're not really dating for potential anymore. You want to see results. Your potential no longer matters to me. I'm not now looking at you thinking, oh, you're smart, you're this or that. Yeah, you could get somewhere in life one day. No, I want to see that you are where you need to be in life.
To me, it doesn't matter how you slice it. If you're reducing your requirements for a partner, you're settling. So why is she trying to dress it up as something different? She talks about going through life and her desires or requirements for a man changing, which makes sense because when she was in her 20s, that's when she would have been in the best position to net herself a high-value man, if that's what she wanted. And because women in their 20s have time on their side, they can afford to be with a man for his potential. But once they hit their 30s, they need to see results because hypergamy goes into crisis mode and their biological clock is starting to run up.
Right, so when you were younger, the things on your list that might have mattered is like where they went to school, the earning potential of their chosen career track. Whereas when you're an adult, I don't really care where you went to school. I don't really care where you work. I care about, have you found success in your chosen career field? So as you're looking at your list and you're debating which qualities really matter, you have to ask yourself, why are these qualities on the list in the first place? Let's take one of the biggest frustrations for a lot of women, finances. It has always been very important to me that whoever I am dating makes significantly more than me. This is because I intended to be a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids. Now, I make a good amount of money, but if I have kids, I intend to quit my job. Meaning, my husband is now going to need to make enough to provide for him, me, and the kids without drastically sacrificing our quality of life. That is a non-negotiable for me.
See, once women reach a certain point in their life, their main priority is, how much money are you making now? I'm not interested in what you might make tomorrow. If she was still looking to have kids, she'd want a man who is bringing in the big money, and we already know that men like that are in short supply.
But as I'm now realizing, I don't think I want to have kids. Okay, now all I care about is that you can financially keep up with me. So I don't really care how much money you make anymore. I care about, do you have enough to take me on the types of vacations that I want to go on? Do you have enough to take me to the types of restaurants that I take myself to? Do you make enough to do the occasional thoughtful thing and get me a gift here and there without it breaking the bank? If the answer is yes to all of those questions, then I don't really care how much you make because it's not affecting how you're treating me or how you're impacting my life. There's also a lot of men who make a lot of money and won't spend a dime on you. The way I see it, money is a tool in the tool belt that is going to allow you to build the types of interactions and experiences that I want to have. So as long as your tool is equipped to do that, that's all that really matters. That's number one, okay? Assessing those qualities to see if they're still relevant.
Okay, give me a minute. She just said that she's making good money, and since she won't be having kids and doing the whole stay-at-home mom thing, why does the guy she might end up seeing have to pay for everything? In this clip, it seemed like all she cared about was what she could get out of a relationship, and not what she could do for her partner in return, which is pretty typical when it comes to videos like this. It's all about extracting resources from the man while keeping everything she makes to herself. At least that's what I got from what we just heard. When she gets to the part where she's talking about how money's just a tool, everything she says afterwards makes it seem like men only exist to fund her lifestyle. It doesn't sound like a mutually beneficial thing at all. Since her future partner won't be anything but a walking wallet, he'd be more of a utility than a respected partner, don't you think?
The second way you're going to tell if you are evolving your expectations or if you are settling is by looking at the reasons why these qualities that you have put on your list are on the list. Okay, what are you hoping to gain from these qualities? So I noticed that a lot of the qualities on my list are my attempt at safeguarding control in my relationship. Safeguarding fidelity, safeguarding trust. Essentially, this list was curated to give me what I thought the highest percentage of success would be in a relationship. Okay, I'm a very logical person. I'm grounded in statistics. So for example, one of the things on my list that was really important to me was what their career is. Not just how much money it makes, but what their career is. I really wanted someone with a boring job in like engineering or finance. Okay, no personal trainers, no athletes, nobody in the entertainment industry, whether that's in front of or behind the camera. No doctors at residency programs, no firemen, like nobody whose job has a high percentage of infidelity. And I'm so serious, y'all. Like, this is not a joke. Obviously there are people who cheat in every career field and there are people who are faithful in every career field, but we are looking at stats.
What's funny about her desire for a guy with a boring job so he wouldn't cheat is that she listed finance, which is one of the top careers for cheating. If you're dealing with a man who's making a lot of money, it doesn't matter what he does for a living, women will be drawn to him because of his access to resources. So I don't know what statistics she was grounded in.
And percentages. I still wouldn't go as far to date a personal trainer or an athlete because I think you're just asking for it at that. But all these other career fields, like, not so much. Now, instead of writing somebody off for their job, I more so focus on the character of the person, which is a bit of a challenge because men can put on a farce for a very long time. But if you pay very close attention to how they treat you, what they say, how they treat others, how they talk about others, what they say, what their friends are doing, if their friends are single, if they're in relationships, if they're married, how their friends treat relationships, you can get a lot of insights into the character of that person. I have also realized that my idea of an ideal partner actually is probably better suited to somebody who does work in a creative field. So by putting these arbitrary career safeguards in place, I may have actually been looking in the wrong areas for my best match and blocking out the people who may be the ideal match for me without even giving them a chance.
Now, she is right about paying attention to the actions of a man, how he treats her, the things he says, and the people he surrounds himself with. Of all the clips we've heard from her so far, though, this one sounds like what you'd expect to hear from a woman who is looking to settle down with someone who's closer to her level.
And the last example of things that I cared a lot about before that don't really matter to me now is kids. The main reason that that was on the list is because I'm not having a kid with someone that already has a kid. It's not happening. My first time has to be your first time. I also don't want to raise somebody else's child. However, now that I don't want kids, if they already have a kid that's grown, that's gone, that's not there all of the time, it doesn't really matter. I'd be more than happy to have a relationship with that kid at some point, but I don't want to be a parent figure. I don't want to raise the child. I don't want to deal with the baby mama drama. So if they are past that stage, to me, it doesn't really matter anymore. Is it ideal? No. But it's now an area that doesn't hold as much weight for me anymore, that it's worth breaking something off over if the guy is actually a really quality person and a good match for me.
The thing about her not wanting a man with a kid, she's now willing to settle for that, which is another sign of her being willing to settle. If she still felt like she had all the time in the world and the ability to bag the kind of man she really wanted it, I doubt she'd be willing to compromise on something like this. This is very similar to what I say about guys who don't want to date single moms. At some point, you just might have to because you won't have the same options that were available to you when you were in your 20s and early 30s, especially if you're not the type of guy who's desirable to younger women.
So again, the difference between settling and evolving really just goes back to understanding what you want in life and if that list was set up with key attributes that this person must have in order to achieve this life. Or are they more so just reflective of the character traits that you would want your partner to have? Because to be very clear, if I was to decide, actually, you know what, yeah, I do want the white picket fence life, I do want to get married, I do want to have 2 kids, I do want to be a stay-at-home mom, well, a lot of those qualities are going right back on the list. But a lot of them are just not important for what I want anymore. And a lot of them were also just false safeguards that I had put in place to try and give myself the best chance of success with a relationship.
The reality is, this whole settling and evolving thing is the same. When she was young, she had more options than what she has now. So if she's still interested in finding someone, she'd have to change what she's looking for, because the men with the qualities on her original list probably aren't checking for her anymore. And if they are, she can't count on them wanting to settle down, as they probably just want to have fun without any strings attached.
There is one thing I have learned: you could have the most perfectly curated man, and if he wants to act up, he's gonna act up. Okay, he's gonna do what he wants to do. And no amount of check boxes on a list is gonna protect you against that. So don't be dumb, because certain character traits definitely mean certain things. But a lot of us, men and women, probably got a lot of things on our list that we could sit and reassess. I would never advocate for somebody to settle. So if there is something on your list that is very important to you, no matter how trivial other people tell you that it is, don't take it off the list. But ask yourself, why is this on the list? And that will give you your answer as to whether or not it should still be there.
She's right in that it doesn't matter what kind of man a woman chooses to settle down with. If he's going to cheat, nothing's going to stop him from doing that. Ultimately, it's up to everyone to make a decision about what the most important thing is to them at any given time. And if your desires change as you get older, there's nothing wrong with that. And in all fairness, it's expected. While everyone has a right to have whatever they want on their list of requirements, it's like she said towards the end, you should have a full understanding of why you want the things you want. And secondly, will you be able to attract someone who has the qualities you desire? There's no point in chasing people who have no interest in what you're offering, because all you're gonna end up doing is wasting time. Anyway guys, that's about it for today. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.